Moving on to the next session, we have a very special virtual address on the dual use dilemma, artificial intelligence in modern cybersecurity. The session is virtually presented by Mr. Siang Tiong, Executive Chairman, First Intel, Ambassador Global Council of Responsible AI, former MD, Southeast Asia and Emerging Countries, Kaspersky. Please join me in welcoming him with a round of applause. Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You're perfectly audible. So you're good to go.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet all of you online. Unfortunately, I cannot fly all the way to join you guys there, so I'll do my best to present it from here. So let me start. Good. All right, so the topic today is the dual-use dilemma, artificial intelligence in modern cybersecurity. So a bit of quick introduction about myself. I've been in the IT industry for the last 30 plus years, and I have held several leadership roles across different functions, strategy, business development, channel sales, development, direct sales, and also technical positions across different countries. So this gives me the deeper understanding of the cultural nuances, the geopolitics, and its implication to the business as well. I've worked across different technology areas like AI, cybersecurity, big data, and infrastructure. And so today, I hope to bring the two topics that is relevant to the conference today, AI and cybersecurity together. So let me begin by showing you what I will be presenting you today. One, how is AI used by the criminals? Next, how AI is used by the defenders. And then, thirdly, how a responsible AI framework can help, and how is it applicable to cybersecurity. So, first, let's look at it from the point of view of the criminals. To start, we have to acknowledge that AI hasn't necessarily created new types of crime. What it has done is it has supercharged the efficacy and the scale of existing ones. So the criminals are moving away from the spray and pray model of phishing, and with AI, they're generating thousands of perfectly written, context-aware emails in seconds, removing the spelling, grammar, errors that we used to rely on when we spot those emails. So we're also seeing the democratization of cybercrime. Tools like WormGPT, FraudGPT act as mentor for entry-level hackers. They help them write malicious scripts, craft emails that previously requires years of experience on native level language fluency. So let's look at some of the use cases. The first use case is actually the most frightening example of how AI-driven social engineering can happen. So in early 2024, a finance employee in Hong Kong was invited to a video conference. He was initially suspicious of an email, but once he saw his CFO and even several colleagues on screen, his gut dropped. Now, the attackers didn't need to hack the network. They hacked a human. By using deepfake technology to simulate a group setting, they actually created a false sense of psychological safety and authority. Now, this proves that seeing is no longer believing. In the traditional multi-factor authentication and verification steps must now be extended to video and voice communications. Another use case, in MGM. When MGM was attacked by the scattered spider group, it highlighted the power of AI-driven reconnaissance. The attackers used AI tools to parse through LinkedIn, corporate directories, to find the weakest link in the IT help desk. And they used voice cloning, highly polished AI scripts to impersonate employees over the phone, convincing the help desk staff to reset credentials. Then voila, they get into administrative access to Okta, to Azure environments. So the lesson here is AI makes the pre-attack phase, the phase that takes so many months, suddenly it compresses them to just a few minutes or a few days. So this allowed the attackers to scale their social engineering effort across hundreds of targets simultaneously. Another case, the third case, is the rise of dark LLMs. So we often think AI as a ChatGPT or the Gemini today, which has strict guardrails. Can someone turn off your mic on the other end, because I think it's interfering with the... Can you guys hear me well? Because I'm hearing a lot of feedback.
Chair, so you're perfectly audible.
Okay, I'll continue. So we often think of AI as the ChatGPT or Gemini, which has strict guardrails. But the criminals have now created their own version, like Worm GPT, Fraud GPT, where all the guardrails are now removed. So take Worm GPT, for example. It's trained specifically on malware-related data. Right? So a criminal can simply ask it, write a Python script that exfiltrates documents and encrypts the drive. It will provide the code without a single, I cannot fulfill this request warning. Now, of course, you may want to try this on GPT, but please don't do it too many times. Or else, if a federal agent appears at doorstep, I cannot help you, okay? But really what this shows, right, is this effectively creates a cybercrime as a service economy. But the barrier of entry is just a monthly subscription fee, which means now we are defending against an infinite number of unique AI-generated malware variants. We are also defending against an increased army of amateurs who are now enabled by such cybercrime as a service. Now, then you'll be asking yourself, right? As a defender, are we really so helpless? Now remember, I told you that AI is a force multiplier. Now, when criminals use AI to find their way in, the defenders can use AI to watch the door, and many doors at once. So the biggest shift in 2026, as we can see, is moving away from reactive signatures towards proactive behavioral baselining. So it's not behavior analytics, not just behavior analytics, which has been there for many years, right? But that plus baselining. So you move from what you learn elsewhere, not only that, but to predict what is going to happen next. So we also see the rise of autonomous SOC agents that don't just flag and alert. So we can have SOC agents that is enriched with context, pulling threat intel, checking the history, performing initial containment like isolation and all that. And we can do it at a split second. So one of the most critical defensive advances is explainable AI in this context, right? Well, they're doing that instead of telling you, oh, the risk score is 99. You really don't know what happens. Right? But today, the tool uses model like Sharp or Lime to tell the analyst exactly why it flags the event. And so, of course, the simplest one is, a user login from Singapore 10 minutes after login from London, something like that. Yeah. Okay, give me a second. Okay, so let's go into some use cases, right? The first use case, we witness the war of AI versus AI, where the criminals target the Taiwan semiconductor sector, the US academia, and think tanks in late 2025. So we saw the first documented case of an AI orchestrated espionage campaign. The attackers jailbroke an LLM, performed thousands of requests, scanning for vulnerabilities, harvesting credentials autonomously. And the human defenders couldn't have kept up, right? But interestingly, the defensive side uses AI to filter the noise, recognize the storyline of attacks, and then able to block it. So the case shows that the only way to fight an autonomous AI attacker is with an autonomous AI defender. It's really AI versus AI, machine versus machine. Okay. Next use case, AI-driven zero-dwell detection. Now, telco networks are incredibly complex, making them perfect for hiding stealthy backdoors. In late 2025, early 2026, we saw defenders deploy AI that established a deep baseline of normal API traffic. So when an attacker managed to compromise, they tried to do the lateral movement, the AI actually flagged the behavior. Not because the parse was wrong or not because anything else, but because the pattern of access was uncharacteristic. So there's a shift from identity-based security to behavior-based trust. So with this, we can close the gap on dwell time. Now, typically, when we see an APT attack, the dwell time can be from months to years, right? And now you can crash it to maybe minutes or hours. So the last case is the use of automatic triage in an autonomous SOC. So 2 years ago when I visited a state-level SOC, sorry, give me a second. So 2 years ago when I visited a state-level SOC, they tell me they're receiving 10,000 alerts a day. And then when I asked them how they handle it, they just smiled at me. Because 10,000 alerts a day is not humanly possible for the operators to handle. Right, so this skill gap is one of the biggest risks in cybersecurity. There aren't enough humans to watch the screen. Now, agentic AI can act as tier 1 analyst. So the AI doesn't pass the alert to humans, it actually generates a case summary. It can group things together and explain what happened, why it matters, and what are the evidence supporting the conclusion. So this reduces the investigation time. It also moves the humans into the tier 2 as a tier 2 analyst. So the humans don't do the grunt work. They became the tier 2 analysts. They became the architects and the final decision maker. Now you notice that I still have human in the loop. And that's very, very important, right? So that brings me to the third topic, the concept of responsible AI. Now, AI as a tool is a tool for both sides, both the dark side as well as the bright side.
Yeah.
But really, in the bright side, we really need to rise above it all. Okay? So there lies the concept of responsible AI. Now, governance isn't just about red tape. It's about building a secure by design, responsible by design culture. And fortunately, we have several major frameworks guiding us today. As you can see on the screen now, right? The NIST standard is highly popular in the US and also for the technical team because it provides a functional breakdown, govern, map, measure, manage. Okay. For those who are looking at international certification, ISO IEC 42001 is now the benchmark. The EU AI Act is also coming into force soon. And likewise, in Singapore, the Singapore government also published a responsible AI playbook for all their suppliers last year. So what exactly is a responsible AI framework? So we go down to some of the core principles. So first, transparency and explainability is important. Now, AI cannot be a black box. The user deserves to know, right, how it behaves. Next, the idea of fairness and non-discrimination is important. We've seen many years ago when a model in US trained facial recognition. I don't know if you still remember that. It doesn't do very well for people with color because of the deficiency in the training set. Now, imagine that happening in Asia, especially in Asia where we see multiple culture, multiple race, this kind of discrimination cannot exist. Okay. Next, the topic of the principle of robustness and security. I don't need to emphasize it more. And finally, the Singapore government's AI playbook emphasized human in loop. Why? Because ultimately, accountability cannot be outsourced. Yeah? So how did we build it up together? These are the 7 pillars of responsible AI construction. First, it starts with ethics, and it must start with the leadership, where we weave all these principles into the construction. And as we tear down, the principles gets in. And on top of that, we need to introduce data governance, integrity, and a purpose-driven innovation. And lastly, on the usage end, on the receiving end, we also need to make sure AI literacy and readiness is there. So we put the tools into the right hands. Now, can you imagine getting someone to drive a truck when he only has a license to drive a car? Right? So the readiness is very, very important. Okay? And last and most important, the human, of course. Yeah. So the human-centric use is important. Okay, next, we need to build a common language and standard across all, so that you can harmonize across. So we arrive at the assurance model. Okay. The basic tier 1 is the operational self-assessment, the trust but verify at the developer's level. Developer uses tools to check their own work. Here too are the guardians. That's where the security team steps in, perform the review, and ensure its compliance to frameworks. Right? But it's a final exam where the independent audit team, the internal audit or external audit, right, comes in at a certain frequency or ad hoc to provide the seal approval for stakeholders, for regulators. Right? So this is a difference between saying you are responsible to really proving it. Okay? So now that I've introduced how AI is used by the criminals, by the defenders, and how what exactly is a responsible AI framework, to bring it together, this is what I'm saying. Right? Now, the reality is, tool is available to both sides. Though they are constructed differently, you may say that, well, the criminal side have a no-holds bar, the guardrails are down. The reality is both sides are using them as a force multiplier. Now, I've just shown you how to use AI responsibly in your organization. The question then most people will ask, right? Are we unnecessarily hamstringing ourselves? Are we fighting with one arm behind our back? Whereas we say we need to be responsible, but the criminals need not be, right? But think of it this way. Responsible AI nudges you to build not just for functionality, but to build secure and responsible codes by design. So there's a Chinese saying that goes like this: 水可载舟，亦可覆舟. Water can lift the boat. It can also capsize the boat. AI, like water, is a tool. Be responsible. Focus on building a secure and resilient boat. We will weather all storms. Right, so with this, I will end the presentation with just a quick introduction to my company. We are an advisory and consultancy company that focus on business advisory, regulatory advisory, as well as market access, where we help to bring business advisory, regulatory advisory together to help our customers enter new markets in an intelligent and knowledgeable manner. All right, with this, thank you. And thanks for the time today.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Any questions?
If you have any questions, we'll just, I think we have probably a few more minutes. Yeah.
Give us a moment, sir. Okay, we have a question. How do you prevent over-reliance on AI and maintain human judgment?
Sorry, give me a second. I need to turn up
Yes,
the volume.
yes.
Sorry, yes, you were saying?
How do you prevent over-reliance on AI and maintain human judgment?
Sorry, how do you?
How do you prevent
Right.
over-reliance on AI and maintain human judgment?
Sorry, I'm struggling to hear because of the echo.
I get it. So our team will text to you.
How do you prevent?
So we will have the team message to you. Give us a moment.
You want to put it on the chat so that I can?
Yes, sir, we are doing it.
Yeah. I'm sorry because the audio is very echoey. I'm struggling.
No worries, we
Thank
understand
you.
that. Just a moment.
How do you prevent?
Sir, I hope you
over-reliance
received the
and maintain
message.
human
Yes.
judgment. Oh, that's a very good question. How do you prevent over-reliance on AI and maintain the human judgment. So let's go back to the principles of the responsible AI, which I have highlighted just now. Okay, so let me just pull that out, right? Yeah. So the core principles is to maintain the human centricity and maintain the accountability. Okay, I'm gonna mute the speaker because I'm hearing the echo, and I think you guys are struggling with my mic as well.
Also, you're perfectly audible. We don't have any
Yeah.
problem.
So we'll just put the questions into the chat, and I will voice it out. Yeah. So the question is, how do you prevent over reliance on AI and maintain human judgment? I'll go back to the principles of responsible AI. When we talk about the robustness, the human centricity, and accountability, and most important of all, you cannot outsource responsibility and accountability to AI. You cannot outsource the accountability to AI, because at the end of the day, it's the human who will hold the responsibility and be answerable. So in encoding into the logic, the outcome needs to be explainable. In encoding into it, you need to make sure that the human has a kill switch. The human has an oversight. So take this example. For example, if you have an intern, you get your intern to do the research and bring all the things to you. But who is the one at the end of the day to read that interpretation and say that this is how we should be acting on it? It is the manager. The manager needs to be held responsible for taking that decision. And we need to make sure that decision goes to a human to take that decision. Remember the automated SOC that I was talking about? Where you have the SIEM flagging out the different alerts. You can get your agents to collate it together to make some sense out of it and to explain how he comes to that conclusion. But who is the one who reads it? The tier 2 analyst. And who is the one who will take action to say quarantine, to say block that network segment, etc.? It is the tier 2 analyst. So don't outsource it away. Don't outsource it away. Don't automate all the way until the network gets cut and nobody knows why. Okay, so that is the balance that we need to make. I hope I answered that question. Second question was, how do the good guys stay ahead of the bad guys? I get this question a lot in the past many years, whether I'm in the cybersecurity industry. The reality is it is a leapfrog game. It's a leapfrog game, right? The criminals will find new ways to circumvent. The defenders will find new ways to nip it at the bud. But don't lose your sense of hope. Because at the end of the day, you have more resources in your hands. Yes, the criminals are organized. Yes, they are multinational. Yes, they are highly networked. They are very smart. But don't underestimate the intelligence of everyone in the room. Don't underestimate the collective intelligence of good humans. Right? We exchange notes, we collaborate, we have regulation, we have enforcement. All these are important aspects that pull the collaboration cycle together. And that's how we can stop the bad guys. Now, there will be occasions when the bad guys manage to tunnel through, manage to do something drastic. But I always believe we can always come back, and we will come back stronger.
Are we done?
Okay. Any
more questions? No. Thank you, Mr. Siang Tong, for joining, and thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for the wonderful session. Good day. Am I?
Oh, cool. All right, I see from the chat here that there are no more questions. I really appreciate your attention, and it's my pleasure to present in this forum.
Am I audible? Thank you.